talking.
Well, I mean,
We're talking
we literally started America to break away from religion, so we could have our own religious
Yeah,
thought.
I'm going to say to that, Sean, that's a misnomer and only true for a couple of colonies. Okay, the
Okay.
majority of colonies are in it for money. Okay,
Money, yeah. Well, it's all
and so
money's always the overriding factor in anything. I mean, that's and I think that's why I see a lot of religions as a
well,
veil for money.
yeah, but of course that's certainly not true for Mother Teresa. I mean, the people that work with
Oh,
me at
there's
the Boy
you
Scouts.
can't say it. Nothing is in absolutes. I mean, nothing.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah.
obviously an example of
Sure.
the charity work, and there's obviously great things. And that's what I was talking to Coley about the other day. I love a lot of the things that religion do, like
Yeah.
missionary work and traveling and youth, care and all these things, all these cool things. It's just the whole God thing. It's like what? that's just me.
Yeah,
But
well, see,
um,
see, it's for me, I worked it just the opposite, Sean. I was sort of like came to the conclusion none of this makes any sense at all unless there is a God. And I actually came to the conclusion going, how can I possibly explain all of this? And one of the funnier statements, just to give you an example, because of course this is my area, I have to study on it. I remember hearing Daniel Dennett when interviewed about the origin of the universe saying, the most logical explanation is that the universe just appeared. I thought to myself, yeah, I was walking the other day and a universe appeared. I was like, no, that is not a logical explanation in any way. I'm going to give credit to Stephen Hawking here. In his book, Brief History of Time, he says that if we can't solve the time curvature, the most logical answer is that there's a God. David Hume actually said this too. I don't know if you have familiar with Hume that much. Hume says this, I have never said that the earth is uncaused. Nothing could be farther from my thinking. Did he believe in God? No, but he left it as an open question because it was evident to him that there was, in fact, causality. And I think one of the things that comes up for me is I think it's very hard to explain. And I sometimes do this when I'm walking into a room to make a point. I'll ask the question, how did all these chairs get here? And people say, well, somebody brought them in, what have you. And I usually say, no, they just fell out of the sky and they fell in perfect order. That for me takes more faith than to believe that there's an orderer. And so that's where I begin in my presuppositions, I guess is the way to say it. It takes more faith for me to believe. Here, I'll give it another way. One of Nietzsche's interesting comments about all of this is he says, the thing that bothers me is there's not as much chaos. And here we might think of the adaptation of the species and things across the entire universe. Why are things not more chaotic? And his point is, if in fact everything is chaotic, there is no ordering, and it orders itself, then why are we not seeing more evidence of that? And I think that this is what the philosopher Whitehead said himself. He's an atheist, and because he's a mathematician, he goes, there's just too much math in the universe. Even Francis Crick, since we're talking genetics, you're familiar with Crick?
Yeah, Crick and Watson and Crick. Yes,
Yeah.
very
I have
familiar.
one right here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Crick says this about panspermia. He says, no, of course this didn't just sort of all develop by itself. No, of course not. And so when asked, well, then you believe in God? He said, no, I believe in other life. I believe that there's extraterrestrials. Mm-hmm. Now he's right, I think.
So
my point would be,
we have a topic on aliens we want to talk about.
Yeah, we have a topic on aliens that we're going to bring up in a minute. But
it's an alien conversation. But go ahead.
Hey, let me ask a question before you ask about aliens. Or is that what you're asking next?
No. I was going to ask about. He mentioned we can't figure out time curvature, and I didn't quite understand what you meant by that. Can you explain that a little bit more? Because
what I mean. Of course, you're aware there's a tremendous debate about Hawking's ideas and the curvature of time. You're familiar with what I'm talking about with curvature of time?
Are you talking about the curvature of space-time and that how, depending on the mass in space, that bends? That's more, not so much Hawking, more Einstein, isn't it?
No, Hawking is absolutely talking about that.
Well, I mean, yeah, he was building off of Einstein's theory.
Yeah, so you probably know as well as I do. He first, receives acclaim as a result of singularity, the concept of singularity.
Yeah.
And he and Penrose basically said, look, all the data's going back to a single point. We're talking singularity.
Mm-hmm.
After he did that, he said, look, I'm not lying to you. Look, you're with, and he says these words, we are at a metaphysical impasse unless we can figure out a way around this, basically. And what he means by that is we're looking at something beyond the universe if we're talking about the creation of the universe starting at a single point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could talk about this a tremendous amount. I love it. Astrophysics is one of my favorite things to read about. And he believed that the solution, I guess is the way to say it, is the curvature of the space-time continuum.
Yeah, so current theories are that black holes are just a one singular point that is just so massive in weight. It's basically taking the sun and then putting in the space of a basketball. That mass is just absolutely huge. And you're right. I don't think we're going to find out what a black hole truly is until we're able to navigate the event horizon. And the event horizon, for people that are listening that don't know about it, is a certain point whenever you're getting close to a black hole that you just get sucked in. Light can no longer pass through. It's just a certain point that nothing can leave and or come. But we actually found out that wasn't true. Believe it or not, there's a thing called Hawking's radiation.